So I ordered some interesting exotic fruits so I can collect the seeds and try to grow them at home. I bought a starfruit, which is a really cool looking fruit native to Southeast Asia. I also ordered 3 different types of dragon fruit. These are actually the fruit of a type of cactus native to Central America. And I also have some interesting varieties of pineapples. I bought 2 of these sugarloaf pineapples. These are apparently known as the sweetest pineapples in the world. I also have a baby pineapple, which is a lot smaller than regular pineapples. Starting off with the sugarloaf pineapple. So the part that I want to use is this green part with the leaves, which is called the head or the crown of the pineapple. This part can actually grow into a whole new pineapple plant. So I cut it off with a very blunt knife. Once I found a sharper knife, I started cutting off the bits of flesh that were still left. If you don't remove the flesh, the pineapple top can rot very easily. Then I started removing the leaves at the bottom of the pineapple top until I could see a couple of centimeters of the stem. I cut off the last remaining bits of flesh and let the pineapple top dry in a windowsill for about 24 hours. Next, I want to put the pineapple tops in a glass with some water. But in order to make them float on top of the water, I carefully stick some toothpicks in the stem. Then I filled a plastic cup with water and placed the pineapple tops inside. Now you can place it in a windowsill. However, I was filming this in December, so I decided to place them in my terrarium, where it is a bit warmer than in a windowsill. For the baby pineapple, I followed the same steps. Moving on to the dragon fruits. These are the ones I was the most excited about, because they just look really cool. This is the white variety, and as you can see, there's a lot of tiny seeds inside. I took out some of the seeds with a knife. This one is the red dragon fruit. On the outside it looks very similar to the white one, but when you cut it in half you can see that the flesh is red instead of white. And this is the yellow one, which is a bit smaller but it has bigger seeds. I took some seeds from the red and yellow dragon fruit as well, and then I let all the seeds dry for a day. If you're trying to grow dragon fruit yourself and you have multiple varieties, make sure to keep them separated and clearly label them, as it is really difficult to see which seeds belong to which variety. I let the seeds dry on a paper towel, which ended up being a mistake because as the seeds dried, they started to stick to the paper towel, and it was a lot of work to remove them. Once I was ready to plant the seeds, I sowed them in a small container with 50% regular potting soil and 50% vermiculite. Vermiculite helps improve drainage and it also retains moisture. You can also use sand or perlite for this mix. I gave it a spray with some water and I put a label in so I know which variety it is. I put the containers in my terrarium where it is warm and humid. You can also put them in your windowsill. Just make sure that the seedlings get enough light and make sure that the soil doesn't dry up. Moving on to the last fruit I ordered. This is a starfruit. They are usually yellow and also a bit bigger than this one, so I guess this one isn't fully ripe yet, but let's hope that there are still seeds inside. I carefully cut the dragon fruit into thin slices, trying not to damage the seeds. Then I carefully took out some of the seeds. I let the seeds dry up, and the next day I made some holes in a pot with some regular potting soil and put the seeds in, about a centimeter deep. Now that I've planted everything, it's time to wait and see if anything germinates. A week later, the dragon fruit seeds have already germinated. Here I have the yellow variety, and here are the seedlings of the red one. And this is the white variety. And this pineapple top here has already started growing some tiny roots. Okay, so it's been about 3 weeks now, and the dragon fruit seedlings are already pretty big. So I've got 2 pots of every variety. So this is the white one, and this is the red one, and right next to it is the yellow variety. So the yellow variety had the biggest seeds and also the biggest seedlings. So if I just pick one up here, you can already see the kind of little spikes on the seedlings, which is pretty cool. Moving on to the pineapples. So these are the 2 sugarloaf pineapples. This is the one that first started growing roots, but for some reason the roots kind of stopped growing, and now this one looks a lot healthier. It has a lot more roots, and the roots are also a bit bigger. So I think they're almost ready to be planted in the ground. This one is the baby pineapple. There's not much to see yet because it only started growing a couple of tiny roots a couple of days ago. So it's been about 4 weeks, and I'm going to plant the tops of the sugarloaf pineapples in the ground. I usually wait until the roots are a bit bigger than this, but for some reason the roots kind of stopped growing. So I think it's better to just put them in the ground right now so that they have some soil to grow in. So what I have here is just a simple mix of some potting soil, 50% potting soil and about 50% sand. Pineapples do really like a well-draining soil, so having some sand in there really helps. So I'm just gonna put this in my terrarium. And now I'm just gonna dig a hole in the soil. Then I take the pineapple top and remove the toothpicks. And now I'm just gonna place it in the soil, but I'm gonna be very careful not to damage the roots because they are really fragile. And then I'm just gonna give it some water. So it's been about 4 weeks since I planted the seeds of the starfruit, and as you can see, the first seeds are finally starting to sprout. Okay, so the dragon fruit seedlings are about 6 weeks old now, and as you can see there's way too many of them in a single pot. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get rid of most of them and only leave the biggest ones in there. So for example, this one right here is pretty big, so I'm just going to leave this one in here. But for example, this one is not really big, so I can just take it out. Okay, so I've gotten rid of most of the seedlings. I've got about 10 of them left right now. And I'm probably gonna get rid of more of them maybe in a couple of weeks, but I do want to end up with about 3 or 4 plants eventually, so yeah. So I'm gonna do the same thing with all the other pots. So this is the yellow variety, the other one was the red one. The baby pineapple finally has some nice roots, so it's time to plant this one in the ground as well. The seedlings of the starfruit are doing really well. What is cool about this species is that the leaves will droop when you touch them. The plant does this to prevent herbivores from eating the leaves. So it's been a while and all of the plants are doing really well. On the pineapples there are some new leaves coming. And the dragon fruit seedlings have grown a lot. This is the yellow variety. This is the white variety, and this is the red one. So I left 3 or 4 seedlings in every pot, and I've still got 2 pots of each variety. This is one of the starfruit seedlings. I ended up with 3 seedlings and moved them all to separate pots. This is the smallest of the 3. And here's the third one. I gave away the 2 smaller seedlings, and about a month later the biggest seedling that I kept needed a larger pot. So I carefully transplanted it into a bigger pot. So the pineapple plants are doing really well. You can see that they've got a lot of new leaves. I also moved them from my terrarium to the windowsill. This is the white dragon fruit. And this is the yellow one. And the red dragon fruits weren't doing really well. At this point I only had 1 left, and this one died as well. I'm not sure what caused it, because the 2 other varieties are doing really well. So I decided that it is time to give the dragon fruit plants a bigger container as well. So I made another mix of 50% potting soil and 50% vermiculite. And then I carefully transplanted 2 pots of the same variety into 1 container. It's been almost a year and I've got 3 really beautiful pineapple plants right now. And the dragon fruit plants have also grown a lot since the last update. The starfruit has also grown a lot, but I don't like that there's just a single stem. So I simply cut the top off so that there will be growing new shoots from these buds on the side of the plant. It's also November, so I decided to move the pineapple tops back into my terrarium for the winter. So there you have it, 1 year later, and the pineapple plants are looking really nice. I did not expect them to grow this much in just a single year. The starfruit is also looking good, and it's now growing a new shoot from the side. And the dragon fruits are really my favorites. Sadly, I don't have the red variety anymore, but the white and yellow varieties are doing really well. They've also made a lot of aerial roots, which they use to attach to, for example, a tree or a trellis. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and I will definitely post updates on these plants in the future, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel.